Hey guys, it is your girl Deshayla, aka Infinity Bay, and I am back with another video. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about how I got into spirituality and how spirituality changed my life, in hopes for people who are feeling lost to get on some type of guidance and to connect them with source and whatever higher power they should be connected to along this journey, what works for them. So without further ado, let's get into it. Excuse my hair. I do need my hair done right now, and I'm going to be doing something to it. I do not do hair. Don't know how to do hair, but I know how to comb out some hair. That's about it. That's all you're going to get from me. But other than that, let's jump into this video. So how spirituality saved me and saved my life. It did save my life. I went through a period where I stopped believing in a higher power. I did not believe in God, or I was not believing, I was questioning God. I was questioning my understanding of God and stuff like that, because I'm a person like many people. I've been through a lot of things in my life, and I was not understanding why, if there's a God, why have I experienced so much trauma, so much heartache, all of this stuff. And this was when I was in my mid-20s. I began to have these revelations and these questions about a higher power God. It just didn't make sense to me. And I would like to say I did grow up in a Christian, like religion. I would say, and I said it because I was never really, I did go to a point where I tried to get deep into Christianity, but it just, never really, I never connected with it on that deep of a level. I understood it, but I never really connected with it on that deep of a level. And things like this being why I just am one of those people who question things that I don't understand. Like many of us, I question if there's God, why is this stuff happening? And especially the way that, we get taught in the church how to depend on Him and pray to Him, pray to Jesus, and all of this stuff, along with experiencing, a lot of trauma. So I did question it. And around that time too, I kind of already made I spoke out into the universe that I felt like I was a spiritual person and I wasn't religious. But I didn't even know what that looked like. So I always tell people, once you kind of make that connection, that's when the work starts to come, and it's like the universe and God hears you, and they start to, you're where you're supposed to be. Even if you're questioning and stuff, you are supposed to be questioning, because soon the answers will come. So how I got really deep into spirituality is, it happened at a place in my life where I got married young, and I was a mom young. I had all three of my children by the age of 27. And that was pretty much all I really knew, was being a wife and a mom. That was my identity. So imagine, to my surprise, when my world got shooken and flipped upside down, when my now ex-husband decided to cheat and start a relationship with another person. I can give y'all that story one day if y'all want to be nosy. We can have a little tea time on here, and I will give y'all a smidget or shorten that story for y'all. But anyway, let's stay here. So I was at my lowest during this point. That was very hard, because I felt like my whole identity, my whole life was like ripped from under me. And of course I didn't know what to do, and I just knew I needed something. So the way the universe works, the way God works, the way my ancestors work, and many of our ancestors work, is that of course they see us. They see we need these things. It's the timing. It's supposed to happen this way. And shortly after I separated from my ex-husband, I was connected to a podcast that pretty much gave me my groundwork on spirituality, what it was, what it looked like for me. I had a friend that posted something up about it on social media, one of my really good friends, and I inboxed her, and she sent me this podcast, and from that moment on, I got to diving deep into spirituality. So first things first, I started with my ancestors. I started with ancestral work. The moment I was introduced to ancestral work, I was immediately connected to it without a doubt. So I started to learn about it. I started to research it. So I got into ancestral work, which I put up an altar for my ancestors. I began to give them offerings, and I began to communicate with my ancestors. And in no time, they made their presence known to me by different ways, by different things I experienced in my life, different blessings and lessons. Very quickly, my ancestors made it known that they were there in the most supernatural ways. My ancestors definitely became my rock when it came to spirituality. They still are my rock. It's different from when it was when I first started versus it is now. I'm a lot more independent in my spirituality now, and this is the first time I'm actually saying this, and it feels good to say it. In the beginning, because I suffered with codependency coming from that marriage and other relationships in my life, friendships and stuff like that, I don't want to say I necessarily began to create a codependency relationship with my ancestors, but they were my rock in a different way. Like, I could talk to them about everything I did. I went to them, I got understanding through them, and they really began to help pay the way for the woman that I am today. They also really, because I said in the beginning, I did question my relationship with God. They very much helped me understand who God was and how I viewed my relationship with God. I have never been so close to God in my life until I dove into spirituality and ancestral work and all the metaphysical things and the manifestation and all of that stuff, is when I began to become closer to God and understand what God was for my life in different levels and different stages in my life. So I would say the hardest part about getting into spirituality was, and still is until this moment, my Kundalini awakening. My Kundalini awakening shook me. I'm a type of person, I really don't like things. I used to be a control freak. And when stuff happened out of my control or things I don't understand, I could freak out about it, pretty often from time to time. It's crazy because where I'm at now, like, I'm understanding of things are not always in our control and all of that stuff. But having a Kundalini awakening, if you don't know what that is when all your chakras, they're out of whack. And then there's this energy within you that awakens, the spiritual energy that awakens, and it just shakes all of those chakras, and it begins to, you feel actual energy, like energy within your body that could be completely uncomfortable from someone whose body that was just like, I don't want to say natural, because I feel like a Kundalini is one of the most natural states, and that's why it shakes you, because it shows how sleep we are spiritually sometimes. And so having a Kundalini awakening shook me. I needed answers. I didn't understand if I did something wrong spiritually. Did I get into something I shouldn't have? And all of those questions I did have when it came to having this Kundalini awakening. But like anybody, which we all should do, anything we get into and want to know about, I did my research on it. I understand now what the Kundalini does and what it is. However, if I have to be honest, I still am not 100% completely okay with the Kundalini awakening, because it's very intense, especially around like moon cycles. For me, it gets very, very intense, and I understand. I get it's who I am now, but that's one thing that just always been extremely hard for me to grasp, is the whole Kundalini thing. But also, though, in hindsight, and a positive part of it is that because I had a Kundalini awakening, you can't tell me any of this stuff that I experienced that I know that I feel is not real, because that right there alone, if I ever question, like, the following of, getting into ancestral work or spirituality, and if it's real and all of that stuff, it's the Kundalini awakening lets me know that this is very much a thing, and We are very spiritual, you know, spiritual, you know what I mean? We're spirits in human form, you know. So that definitely lets me know and reminds me of that constantly. So, but that has been the hardest part, was having a Kundalini awakening. And because I know how hard having a Kundalini awakening is, it also leads me to want to assist people who have that energy, who don't quite get it either, because a Kundalini awakening can make you feel like you're losing your motherfucking mind. Okay, it can really make you feel that way if you don't understand when it happens for you, why it happens for you. For example, I feel a lot of energy when I drink very like caffeinated coffee, like a cold brew or something. Like, I feel all the anxiety, all of that stuff when I have that Kundalini, stuff like that. But I know that. So now I know what type of coffee to drink that makes me feel still leveled. You know, I know when I get the rush of the energy, most likely a moon cycle is coming about. So I get to looking into that moon. I'm very in sync with that stuff. So, you know, that's just a part of who I am. And that Kundalini awakening showed me that about myself. So yeah, another hardest part about getting into spirituality is that I hold myself to a higher standard. And I know that might sound crazy, but the truth of the matter is that I understand I was brought here to be a teacher. So I see a lot of things, understand a lot of things, overstand a lot of things, surpass what a lot of people does. And I say that in the most humblest but not humblest way, because I am grateful for that. But that's because I am a teacher. So a lot of lessons people are just now getting or waking up to, I've done that moons ago. I understood that moons ago. I'm connected to source, so I get showed things ahead of time than a lot of people will. I have a stellium in the 11th house. I don't know if you guys know what that means, but I'm naturally, you know, that's that real Aquarian like energy. I'm naturally ahead of the game. I'm naturally already thinking ahead, but it can be difficult because it's like I have to hold myself to a higher standard, because anytime I did not, it hurt me more. And I feel like that's with anybody. But it's the thing about when you have to go first. When you have to go first. And then you got to deal with people who are not there yet. And then you have to deal with their decisions and how it might affect you, and it can hurt. And you want to react a certain way, but you got to hold yourself to a higher standard that, you know, I had to learn down the line. I was not like this automatically. It came by experiences, replaying like it does in life and in cycles, to understand my position. To understand that when you do things in X, Y, and Z, people don't hear you. You are a teacher. You have to stand up. And you have to let people hear you. Even if you want to spaz, you want to crash out, that ain't going to teach them. That's the norm for a lot of people. But you standing up for yourself and this emperor-like energy, and teaching them. You don't have to be the loudest in the room to teach anybody. You can say what you said, and you sit in it. You stay in it. It's different ways to teach people. But it has also been the hardest thing for me, because it's like, you know, I want to get down like them too sometimes, but it don't feel good like it will feel good to other people. It don't feel good to you. So that's one of the other hardest parts about getting into spirituality, and holding yourself so accountable, because you have to. You don't know nothing else but holding yourself accountable now, because you've seen everything. You know better already, because like I said, the things people are just now getting, you already handed that handbook. You already learned that lesson. They in junior high, you up in your master's. Like, that's like your teacher in your master's class coming down and getting on your level. That's not how that works. So yeah, I get it, but it is one of the hardest things though. So the best part about getting into spirituality is the downloads I get sometimes, the connections, the things I might hear, before other people might hear. And I know it's probably a lot of people that's like that too. So if you get downloads, that is a gift to you. And don't choose second guess those downloads that you might hear. You know, things that you could be randomly cleaning up and you might hear something's going to happen. Like in Hollywood, or, you know, with the economy, whatever your thing is, you'll hear it. And that's a download. So write it down. I do this a lot. If I get a download about something, or especially if I have a dream about something, I text one of my trusted friends that get it. And I be like, I had a dream, blah, 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 blah. So I can have my proof, the date, everything. So keep track of those downloads. That's one of my favorite things. I am a dreamer. I get a lot of my messages through my dreams. I get a lot of things that I know that's going to come into fruition that I'm working on, or I desire in my dreams. But it can also be hard when you get certain dreams, depending on what kind of dreams that they are. It can be very difficult, especially if you're a person who have dreams and the dreams might come out into play into life. Not exactly the same way, but it does. It could be a little bit difficult to have that gift, but at the end of the day, it's a gift, and it's about you learning it and mastering it and how to use it in your life. But yeah, and another thing that the best part about spirituality, me getting into this lifestyle and how this really changed the game for me, was that I broke away from the societal norms in a way a lot of people think, and I live a true life of freedom. I have so much more work to do, but I do, if you had to really compare me to somebody else and how other people might live their life, I live a life of freedom. That does not mean I don't have to work. I just choose work on my own terms. That do not mean I do not have struggles. I just choose not to struggle. And I really have the confidence in living life on my own terms in a way that I want to. I don't have a problem with walking away from jobs, relationships, situations, because I live a true life of freedom, and I don't put up with a lot of things. I do not put up with that society pushes out that you have to put up with to get certain things in your life. I completely broke away from that. And if it was not for spirituality, I would have never gotten there. I would have never learned how to be so confident in that and leaning into source and my higher self. I would have never gotten that. And I was a person who used to worry about everything. I had to control everything in my life. I had to control it. I worried about it. I struggled so much, y'all. I'm almost finna cry. I struggled so much in my life. And waking up to this and creating a life of freedom, not perfection, but freedom, that I can live life on my own terms. I still have ways to go. I learned how to be free, but I also have to learn how to be disciplined. That's one of my struggles, is being disciplined. And that is something I'm currently in this moment working on. Again, something me being in touch with myself and understanding myself because of this lifestyle has taught me and has brought me. And it's also that way for me because I have so much faith in a person that I agreed to be when I decided to come back again here on earth. I agreed to live a certain life. I agreed to be a certain type of person. And my Pisces, I'm a rising Pisces. So I have no choice but to lean into the divine and the unknown for my life. That is the life I have. And I lean into spirituality. I lean into the mystics and mystical things of life and get blessed in the unknown. So I really was open and woken up to that's just the life I live. It's not easy, and I know people might question it. I don't care though, to be honest with you. And that's the thing, because I got faith in it. As long as I'm leaning into the divine, I'm gonna be fine no matter what. And that's the foundation and the legacy that I am leaving behind. Once again, has everything to do with me getting into this lifestyle. So yeah. Well, that is all of the things I could think of. I could probably go for more and more and more, but I am a yapper, and I be trying to set y'all free the way I am set free. But yeah, drop some things below. If you are into spirituality and it's changed the game for you too, leaning into your ancestral work, getting into astrology, getting into the occult, whatever it is, what changed the game for you personally? Well, no, this is a judgment-free zone, so don't come up in here with that judgy stuff in these comments, because we don't even do that over here. You know, we live a life of freedom. We live a life of doing our best here. So drop in them comments below what changed the game for you, and what questions you might have about certain things, and I'll try to answer you guys the best of my ability. But that's it for me. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. So I will talk to y'all in the next video. Bye.